it's quite nice to see that for all the maybe unpredictability of the Irish attack and the heads-up aspect, they haven't thrown the baby out with the bathwater. They've kept that good stuff.
And the other thing as well on that is, like, if you watch Geelong sees from the animation as well, like, they've got different versions to that then as well. You can do that play again, and it can go back to Conor Murray, and you can go out the back to Ringrose, who runs that line, or Herring runs short on Beelum, and he throws it back in to Keenan, but he can do that slip that we've seen from Leinster before. Leinster scored a try off a 5-metre scrum by Doris doing a slip to Alatoa. Like, that's another part of the Joe Schmidt iteration of that play. So you can do 3 things from it. You can go back inside, you can give it to Murray and out the back to Ringrose, or you can do the slip. You can't defend all of them. And if you run good lines and you're able to play heads up and see what the defence is doing and react, without pre-forecasting it. It was pre-forecasted, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But they had obviously analysed that they're chasers of ruck. They leave guard sometimes. So I don't know, you get huge satisfaction, I'm sure, as a coaching ticket when you've come up with that and you've strategized. And then actually, do you know what? Johnny's too early on his support line. He gets through. He's
just not a details man.
He needs
to pull up his socks.
Well, that was a try for him. Actually, if he's onside, I think Keenan probably chooses to draw Ramos and go out to his side. But I think he looks at him, he's ahead of him. And then as soon as he sees Entomac hedging his bets, he makes a great call and just accelerates and goes, backs himself.
So I mean, you've explained, like, there's so many options within that move, and then, God, they're a joy to watch though when things are just a bit loose as well. I mean, maybe they're not France in the loose, but I mean, the moment where Sexton gallops down the left-hand touchline, Doris hot on his heels and pointing to space.
That pass as well.
So, like
that pass is amazing. Not many players see that pass where it's going to, where the player is going to be, not where they are.
Yeah,
and it's a generous size eye of a needle, but it's an eye of a needle. Nonetheless, it was a really, really beautifully timed pass.
Slow motion makes it look better.
Yeah, it was class.
Not many times in rugby you see a ball played into someone's path by dint of the rules.
Yeah,
that was an example.
Yeah, because I don't know, you want certainty, and because it's a recycle game, you don't want to throw that one where you're hopeful more than believing it's the right play. But it's just some players are able to see where the next play is going to be, or what the opportunity is, or what's unfolding before it unfolds. That's the trick. That's what you have with Johnny. He can see how something from body shapes and watching, shoulders turned in, or watching how narrow teams get, or someone committing to a ruck, what the next opportunity is, whether to keep going the same way and whether to go wide, or if they're dragged out and the spacings are wide, then you have to go through them. These are small little details. That is what, the IQ that you have from him.
I'm curious your sense of Johnny on that point. You're painting him like John Nash here, and he's seeing all the numbers.
He's encyclopedic.
Yeah. Do you think he was preternaturally gifted and arrived with that kind of acumen and could see the picture clearly, or is this just a guy who's had more than his 10,000 hours? So I know it's a combination of both. But if it's more on one side of the ledger than the other?
It's a good question, Joe. I would say it is a bit of both. I think he was predisposed to having that ability. It's just there wasn't opportunity for it. But pretty quickly, he could see things, ahead of time.
Yeah. And
you have to remember as well, this is the perfect game plan for him to be able to bring out the best of that. Whereas previous game plans from 09, 10, 11, 12, Leinster and Ireland teams, maybe, you weren't seeing that level of decision making. And I think he's progressively gotten better at it because of the 10,000 hours that has gone into it.
Yeah.
So you'll see other players come along and not do it as well as that after 7 or 8 years of practicing. Okay. Put it that way. So that I do think he has an ability. When you have 3 options, most players at 10 can pick two of the 3 at that last second. He can pick 3 of 3, and that's the real effectiveness of him. That said, half an hour of Ross Byrne was Very important for everyone to see and feel confident and to think, you know, there is life after Johnny Sexton, because, you know, I've kind of scrutinised Ross Byrne's performances in the past. I have to say he's improved no end, and there's a real comfort and a confidence with the way he's playing now, and firmly on the back of the last two performances, particularly that half an hour around him being number two and being a facilitator to bring out the best in others. I think he fits into that game plan extremely well. It's tried and tested at Leinster as well. He's been doing something very, very similar for a number of years. So he's probably the best fit to really get it. He doesn't square around the corner the same way Johnny does, not yet. And that's the next iteration. But very, very comforting to see a really good half an hour performance the way he put in. Do you know what, one last thing? Do you know what's amazing? And there'll be lots of times for me to further wax lyrically about Johnny Sexton over the course of the next 6 months or so. What I find amazing is his ability to connect with guys that are 15 years younger than them. Because I think that's the challenging thing when you get a bit older. I remember talking to an ex-Leinster player not that long ago and asking him one more year, and he was like, no way. I can't connect with these young lads. It was like their Snapchat and whatever else, and their conversation. It's a totally different world than he's in. He was a family guy. So
Shane Jennings.
No. So I look at Johnny in that environment, and you know, these 20, 21-year-olds, and I just think it's an amazing ability to be able, an adaptability of him to be able to still be excited about being in there. And the rugby is the common denominator, of course, but yet he doesn't let the other stuff affect his opinion around what it's like for him to be in camp. I think that's a real, there's a different type of mental toughness to be able to go in and not maybe be with great mates. Yes, he's good pals with Murray and Earlsey and Peter O'Mahony, but when you are the old guy, it's challenging to feel relevant amongst the core group of whatever age bracket that is, because you lose the power. The older you get, the reality is someone else comes along and there's more of them than there are of ye.
It's interesting. I presume you might have been in this bracket, to be fair, and Paul O'Connell, he is akin to Tiger Woods. Like, they've grown up watching him. I'm sure they half worship him.
Oh no, for sure. I don't want to. I want to make the comparison of what I heard with Messi when he for the World Cup, where it feels like he'd more power than anyone in the squad, including the coaching staff. But like literally, when Messi spoke, everyone shut up, coaches and everyone. It was like, so I think there's a small bit of it's just that he's been able to back it up.
Yes.
And when everyone thought that he was chopped liver in 2019, he's actually gotten better. So that, like, with that comes a continued credibility, not that he needs any more, but a total belief in what he's saying and what he's doing, and the on-field coaching and guidance that he's now providing for this squad. And even when he's not playing, and hopefully imparting it on Ross Byrne as well, I think is his real USP. And the impact he's had on this squad is beyond significant. It's just different than you can imagine, and hopefully it leads to something great, obviously in the short term, but also in the longer term later on in the year.
That was just a taster of Brian Driscoll, who was with us this evening. He was in brilliant form across the full 50-minute chat, which you can download wherever you get your podcast from.